Welcome everyone back to another episode of Roots. Hi Mom, how you doing?
Hi, Alexander. Hello, everyone.
Hello, and happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Happy
um,
Mother's Day to all moms out there.
yeah, and I know this is a rather significant day, and obviously very connected into what we're doing. And I just wanted to take the time to say thanks very much for being my mom. Thanks very much for sharing this story. I really love and appreciate all of the things and feelings and emotions that we've been processing so far. And I cannot wait to continue that line of dialogue, that conversation, so we can just understand each other even more and more.
Thank you so much. It means so much to me to hear that.
Mm-hmm. And for all of those that are tuning in for the first time or returning, Roots is a series of conversations between my mom, myself, and our family to understand our history, to understand our present, and to link the two with the intent to connect us in a way that's even stronger than before. And so, to pick up where we left off, we went through this incredible journey of escape where my mom and her family, they raced through the clutches of communism and fought pirates and survived through this hellish journey on this
We
rickety
didn't
boat.
fight pirates.
In a way, in a way,
Yeah,
it's a fight. I
we're
think
just
of it.
lucky they let us go.
I always think of it as a fight
Uh
because
huh.
it's part of it and almost all of it is incredibly mental. Like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of different types of strength that have to be applied. Um, and that's a fight, and you
Yeah.
survived, you came out.
I suppose we're not
But
fight them physically, but mentally
right,
we stay strong.
right. And so you got through all of that, you got turned down once, and it was just this really hopeless looking situation. And then finally land in the form of, I think it's called the tongue, right?
Letong. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And here we are. We're starting our uh I guess call it the first real chapter of your refugee experience, where you are kind of in this new land with new people, just trying to make things work and trying to figure out what happens next. Um, and so I think that's where I really want to start diving into kind of what your experience was like at this camp, and then and I know you have some stuff to preface there as well. So love to hear about what you have to say first.
Well, I saying that once we get on land, our perspective about life is blossoming. It's hope, right? We made through the ocean. We actually survived through the last 7 days. Actually, today, May 5th. I'm not sure that when we release this episode, it's probably going to be in August sometime. But if you're listening, we're recording this on Mother's Day, May 9th, and also actually the day that we landed tonight in Letong after 7 days from May 3rd to May 9th out in the sea. So yeah, today has a very significant day, and I just want to kiss the ground that the boat was docking and we get off, and we were so happy because we know that we didn't die.
Yeah.
We did not die. We made it. Um, so happy. But then now what? We just got to find out where we're going to get food the next day. How are we going to get paperwork? How are we going to declare that we are refugees? So we have a name and a face on paper, because before that you're not existent,
Right.
right? You left Vietnam, and you are nobody's citizen. So yeah, my dad has to follow the crowd, and not a whole lot of people understand English, and the Indonesian officers, they speak a little English, so some of the refugee volunteers, if they understand English, they speak English, so they volunteer to be the interpreters, and so people would just follow what's going on. Where do we go? So there's a lot of small talk, and for me, I was just following my mom. just doing things that my mom needs. Gather my siblings and always keep an eye on them, and settling into the Indonesian slash Chinese family that who offer us a temporarily place behind the deck, the floating deck.
Right.
And I was working for them to help them on in their grocery store, because they need somebody to able to communicate in Vietnamese and in Chinese to the refugee, because those are their new clients now, the new customer. I mean, before that they only sell to the local. Now
Right.
they, now has an influx of refugees that's got money and dollars and golds, and there's a lot of money circulating around. So I was there to help them. But after like 2 weeks, they have a friend down the street that want to rent out the porch, the front porch. So
Hmm.
it's a small front porch. So we just kind of like clean the porch, and I didn't even remember there's a straw mat or something, but we just rent that front porch, and
Hmm.
the front porch got a lot of traffic from refugee in now, from the dock to the marketplace, the center of the town. And there's a lot of traffic from, because not every single refugee can stay in Leitong. Leitong get a little bit of the local residents, so they have water, they have pumping water, and they have electricity. But most of the refugees got to go to another remote island, like which is another hour or two of boat ride.
Hmm.
There's no people except bushmen or whatever that live in those remote islands. And then those refugees start chopping wood, chopping palm tree, and start making their own huts, and you start building a little village, because you have to wait, and you don't know how long you're gonna get called or get sponsor. So everything was just temporarily. And but we're lucky because my dad's trying to stall as long as he could, because he heard about all the insanity condition in the other camps,
Hmm.
where lots of bugs, lots of mosquito flies, and people get sick. People couldn't drink the water, and they got diarrhea. So there's a lot of
Jeez.
things that my dad was saying, that if we need to spend money, because believe it or not, we still had money. We got dollars, and we were saying that the Indonesian family willing to rent the porch for us, then we
Hmm.
pay them. And I think we pay them $100 a month. And
Yeah.
then in the desperate situation, my mom is brilliant. She's always see opportunities. She always see the things that you can make a living out of it. So
Hmm.
with me sewing and she sewing, so she asked the landlord if you have a sewing machine. And the landlord do have a sewing machine. So another $50 a month, she rent the sewing machine. And we start put up a little cardboard sign, say that tailors.
Hmm.
My name and my cousin's name. We put it up there, and whenever people walk by, and she would say, "Yeah, we can make new clothes for you. Do you need clothes?
Uh-huh.
Did you get all your clothes get tossed out in the sea, because sometimes you get throw up on you get seawater, just like a lot of
Okay.
refugees lost their clothing and their things.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunity, and some of the richer people, that they have daughters and they have wives that in high ranking in Vietnam old regime, and they still have a lot of golds and money. So there's a out of a sudden, everybody, once you create a trend and people see it, it's like, oh, you got new clothes, what do you got, who's sewing for you? So a lot of word of referral, right, word of mouth,
Yeah.
and they are pointing to us. And it seems like we're the only gig in town beside the Indonesian. I'm sure there's Taylor, but nobody knows them and nobody speak Indonesian. So
Right.
so we become really popular. Out of a
And
sudden, yeah.
particularly among the refugee group, right?
Yeah, well,
Hmm.
all of the refugee group. We didn't make any clothes for the native, the local, but they
Right.
don't need, you know, I know how to sew. I know how the fashion that is desirable, and and those people start seeing that, hey, I get to I just made it to land. I'm alive. Let's celebrate. They didn't really. It hasn't hit them yet. It hasn't hit them that they still need to. They don't know how long they're gonna be, and they still need money for a long haul. So a
Yeah.
lot of people start making clothes, and some of the people that stay there a little while or have a relative or people in United States or in in Australia, they get sponsored pretty quick. So those are the people who need clothes right away. Like they need
Oh,
new clothes.
interesting. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why? Because they want to go interview with the whatever the country that's gonna. You got to go interview. They're very selective sometimes, and they want to make
Hmm.
sure that you're healthy before they take you. Because
Of
if you
course, yeah.
have Hep C or if you have hepatitis or you have anything, they're gonna quarantine you. They're gonna have you like treated before they bring to their country.
Yeah.
So you want to look fresh, you want to look healthy, you want to look respectable. So people are rushing to make new clothes. And that's
Hmm.
when my mom and I start making like we were working hard. Um, but it was fun and exciting, and it kept us hope. It gave us hope, and it kept us busy. and
Yeah.
um, and then we were so busy for a couple months. People just bring fabric. They go buy fabric from the Indonesian people, and they just bring to my shop where we live, eat, sleep, sew, everything in that little porch.
Hmm.
And the landlord told us that we should not have meat, like no pork, no meat because they're Muslim. So we
Right.
respect them. So no, we didn't buy any pork or eat anything that they didn't like.
Yeah.
So we're so busy, and we were making um, enough money, more than enough, to pay rent, to get some supplement because we get canned food from the United Nations.
Hmm.
A little bit of cabbage and some canned food, some sardine, but not enough. So we have extra money to buy apple for my youngest brother, and some extra vegetables and other things that to go with our meals.
Hmm.
Um, so I was really excited in a sense because now I get to do what I love because I got all the training in Vietnam, right? And it take away time from thinking about how long I'm gonna be here, what I'm gonna do, and you're making money. So mom bought whatever I want to eat. Mom bought for me. So it was very prospered, and then we so busy that we have to hire another girl to come and help us sew.
Hmm.
So I would cranking out. I would draft pattern, and I would cut about 7 or 8 sets of clothing a day. And my mom and another lady couldn't keep up with whatever I cut because when people come, I measure them, and there's no pattern that you buy like America. When you sew, you go to the store and you buy a pattern.
Yeah.
Over there, I'm just like very custom. You basically measure the body, and it's like a tailor thing, and then you cut and then you sew.
It's a pretty customized experience now. Like, it's funny to think about it, but like today, like getting custom made clothes is actually quite expensive.
It's very expensive in America, but
Yeah.
that's all there is in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's how you custom made. Actually,
That's
that's
so
cheap.
interesting. That's so interesting because it's like literally if you did that for like if you did that in a wealthier community, if you had
Hmm.
access to kind of like more quote unquote expensive materials, you
Yeah,
could literally charge like thousands of dollars for a suit.
yeah. In America,
You could charge thousands of dollars for a dress, like
yeah.
that, that's really interesting to think about.
But a lot of time, I think 10, 15 years ago, your cousin Michael, your Bakton's son, when
Yeah.
they went to Vietnam, they bought fabric from here and they brought it to Vietnam, and they got all those custom made tailor suit in Vietnam, and it's so cheap because labor is cheap.
Hmm.
I don't know about now, but back then they went to Vietnam and they make like all those suits because it's so expensive to custom make to your size over here. You can go to the store and get it altered, but that's not the same, right? So yeah, so custom made is everything in small country. We did that. So I was really good at that, and I
Hmm.
can make lots of different clothes, and I
Did
just
did this kind of like take your desires around like I need to go back to school, I want to go back to school, I want to learn, I want to get back there. Did that like push it to the back of your mind at the moment?
no. I know that that was temporarily. I know that whatever I have to do because you can't really have a stable education in the refugee camp. So I know that those time something that I have to help the family make a living because that
Okay.
was a priority at that time. And I
But
know that as soon as I get to America or somewhere,
mm,
priority will shift to
yeah.
education.
And at the moment, at the time you were doing that, you enjoyed it.
Yeah, because that's the only thing I could do at the time. What I could do also is to focus on studying English, which I didn't
Oh, sure.
think of, which
Yeah.
I did not think of when I was in Letong because we have amenity. I didn't really go out associate. I don't know who to hire or any classes. Like everything was just focusing on how to make money so we can stay here, so we don't go to area where the remote island because they let you rent, and if you have money you can stay there. So maybe like a couple hundred people were able to stay and rent from the local and stay there. And at that time I didn't think, but once they changed their mind because monsoon season is coming
Uh-huh.
and they want to gather all the refugee to in one place. And plus I think United Nations was saying that refugees should stay with refugee because then it's paperwork, everything is easier for them to focus on, and everybody should be gathering in one place. And then
Hmm.
one day, out of a sudden, they just like, nope, nobody can stay in Letong anymore. Everybody, and they were just whipping us, like they give no notice. They're just like, nope, everybody gotta get out, and they got boats, and it's like nobody allowed to stay in this island anymore. You can
Wow.
come here to buy food, but you have to go back to because they designated those islands for us, and they didn't want us to mix with the local anymore.
That's
So,
an interesting thing because like even though you've settled in for the most part, like it's still extremely volatile. Like that
oh
is
yeah,
that is a place, but it is not even close to what you would consider a home
no,
because
no, no, no.
yeah,
That is completely volatile because you are a guest in some country that, because of humanity, they accept it, not because they welcome you, but because that is almost like, international was saying that, well, you can't see death and not rescue. So
mm,
sometimes they had to do it, but we were a burden. I mean, refugee is a
yeah,
burden to most of the country, and
yeah,
some country are more welcome than other. But I'm saying that if you come in hundred of thousand people out of in a short time period, you really can drag that country down, the
yeah,
the economies and everything because unless you get help from many different countries, you can really, we clean up that wild island. We strip down all their trees and all their palm trees and all the nature stuff that we wrecked the place.
yeah,
Hundred of thousand people. I mean, tens of thousand people in each island, and you know that how much water that you are taking, and leaves and wood for burnings and resources.
mm,
You come and you pretty much destroy it. And I'm sure that um, United Nations probably have compensate somewhat to the Indonesian country or Malaysian country, whoever take the refugee. I am sure there's some sort of compensation toward that. But it's
sure,
still, burning a big holes on their pocket too, because and not just that, there's people who are troublemakers.
Hmm.
They're not, rule binder people. Not a lot of people are good citizens, are good people, but there's still always going to be a small group of people who's disturbing, who's making troubles.
Hmm.
So, and when people don't know you, the minority that's making trouble, that is creating a lot of hatred for the local. It's like,
Yeah,
they will say that everybody is so nasty, but it's not true. Only a few people, but enough to create the disturbance.
sure.
So when
And
we,
I, yeah, I wanted to touch just briefly back on one other thing there, like when we were talking about the work and what you were doing. Did you enjoy the fact that you were like did you take pride in the fact that you were providing for your
oh,
family?
extremely,
Yeah,
extremely. For the first time in my life, I felt that I have made an impact directly for my parents,
that's
because my
so.
dad my dad couldn't work. I mean, he would just, there's no labor there that for him. All his job is to make sure that paperwork and go to look at the bulletin and then go stand in line and get canned food for the family. And for
Uh-huh.
the first time, I felt like I have really contributed financially because of the things that I learned when I was in Vietnam. All the sewing, all the everything that I learned. Now I'm helping my mom directly, making
I,
a
I,
living.
I, I, I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised and not surprised by that. But like the interesting thought to me there is that like this for you, if this is the first time you feel like you're like having an impact and providing for your family, that says a lot about like what it was like growing up for you. Because like I feel that the responsibility of like raising your siblings and taking care of the house is all very high impact stuff that you should be proud of. But like it sounds like you were conditioned to just like say, well, no, this is expected of me, and so it's not
Yeah.
necessarily something that I should be proud of. It's just something that I had to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think every firstborn or every kid in in the small country, that is like something, obligation that I it's expected. It's totally expected, and we will gladly to because you were raised in the environment that that your parent did the same thing for their parents,
Hmm.
and that's the society and how the teaching is. And as a as a kids, at you need to do that for your parents. So it's nothing like, oh, I did that, and so that is, I want to say that it's just natural. I don't even think, and even when I was making money to help out, I didn't even feel like, I need this, because I have that, no, none of that.
Hmm.
um, and I was just glad that I had something to do. I was just glad that it helped my mom make money to feed all of us, not just me. I mean,
Yeah.
I owe them that much.
And it sounded like at some point, to an extent, your dad was also okay with this until there was a point where he wasn't.
Meaning,
In regards to you helping out, providing for the family, you and Ama kind of
yeah,
really
there's
taking
everybody
control of it.
chip in. There's no like, you do this and you bring money. No, at that time, our focus is as a unit, one unit. I do this, you do that, and this is
Uh-huh.
how we come through as a family.
Right. But at some point there was a part there was a wasn't there a particular moment where he wasn't happy with that? Like he had expressed anger at you and Ama for being successful
No,
and
no, 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 no. I don't know what part of the story you read like that, but no, no.
he was angry for kind of like
He was
the
angry because my mom was focusing, later after we moved to the remote island. And
uh-huh.
he said the priority is to get out of this island, get out of this refugee status. And my mom was saying that there's nothing we can do. It's not up to us that we want to get out or not, right? So
Right.
I think it's the stress level was high because everybody was in the waiting period, and I was morally, my morale was down. I mean, after 3 months, 100 day in Ledong, we got we got kicked over to the other island, which is a real refugee status. Like, we live in a hut,
Uh-huh.
and there's dirt floor and just like stick bars as the wall, and it was muggy, it was hot, and there's no sea breeze in the way that we did with this when we live in Letong, right?
Hmm.
And the sewing slowed down because now you live in the environment that people don't really see themselves pretty anymore. That just rows and rows of houses and the cramming, and everybody was just like, it's annoying to hear noises all the time, and people are everywhere. It's so crowded. Everywhere you turn, they're just people, and it's not pleasant anymore. And
Hmm.
I did not feel like sewing, but my mom, you have to give it to her. All she sees is like she want to make sure that she can make money to help out the family.
Yeah.
And my dad just like, forget with the money. We are in such a dire condition. How can you even still thinking money? But my mom, she's like, what can we do? So she's still trying hard to get client. I mean, it's much harder now when we come to the second island because people are start slow down on spending money,
Right.
and people don't know how long they're going to get trapped in there. I mean, the first few months is still kind of fresh. It's like, oh, I just get out of death. Now I'm alive. I want to celebrate. I want to make new clothes. I want to look good. But after 3, 4 months, it's like, oh my God, I'm still here, and I don't know how long it's gonna be. So I better tuck some money away and not being lavish, spending. And people are kind of retract, and that's when my dad start feel like, forget about sewing, just. And then I start feeling like this is not the future I'm signing up for. I have to start focusing on go find some English class and
Hmm.
start learning English. So I snoop around, I listen to see if there's a teacher anywhere. So I found a guy who's teaching English, I think once or twice a week. And I asked my mom, like, you gotta get me, you have to let me go and learn some English because you're gonna need me in a new country. You're gonna need all the paperwork. So she let me go take some lesson, and then my dad was really. I think he was really stressed out, and he taking out. And there's one very bad episode that it happened that, and he was like, forget about all sewing. So he banged the chairs, and we returned the sewing machine, and we stopped sewing, and and then I was able to focus on learning English.
Hmm.
It's kind of dwindling down anyway because not too many clients anymore, and
Yeah.
things just kind of happen. So we were there in the second island for another 98 days, so another almost 100 days, and then
But it
we.
sounds like, for a part of that, you would actually picked up quite a bit of knowledge, like even though you're not in a school environment, you're like learning a lot, subconsciously almost about just like, you know, just about business, about marketing well, about,
Yeah, I
doing the
wasn't
right
even
work.
thinking about business or marketing or anything at that time. You just do whatever your mom tell you to do.
Yeah.
And I was just having fun talking to people and listen to people's stories,
Mm.
and listen because you are finding things to do to pass the time. And
Yeah.
this is one thing I want to tell people, that when you are in the crisis, just like we are with the pandemic right now, you got to
Mm.
get yourself busy to find things so you don't sit and wait and feel sorry for yourself, and just like be depressed. Because when you have something to do, you inspire yourself to learn about something different, and be adapted in that new environment. So for me, I would first, it was fun because I got to use my skill, and I can sew instead of, sit there all day and wasting time not doing things. And then
Hmm.
when we get to the other island, and then I'm start feeling a little lethargic. I'm just start feeling like this is I mean, I'm gonna be here a lot longer than I thought I would.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go find out to see what future that I can change by learning English. And
Hmm.
I start going out to do a little more exercise. I went to swim in the morning, with another two sister across from my hut,
Hmm.
and I was not a strong swimmer, and they were. So I said, can I tack on with you? And I would just go and swim out in the ocean a little bit every morning for the second half of that 98 days.
Yeah.
And so and below, we got called to, every time you move to a different island, to a different camp, that
Hmm.
means you're making progress. Your name has
Okay.
been bumping up.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
So so we were happy because, you don't want to get stay in one place, because
Uh-huh.
every single progress is, you move a little bit.
Hmm.
So the first 100 day was kind of like, okay, it was new, it was fun. Learn Indonesian. I spoke a little bit of Indonesian and trying to learn their culture. It's like, it's exciting because it's a new country, and then you want to learn about their culture. And then after 100 days, they kick us out, that we have to concentrate with the refugee itself.
Hmm.
Then my my mind, my thinking changed. It's like I gotta pivot. I gotta start thinking about my future. So I learned a little bit of it and take care of myself, and still, take care of my brother and sister. And every day is just long. You gotta find
Yeah.
something to do.
I think it, some of that is like, you know, I think it's fair to attribute some of that to kind of like the refugee mindset, where you're like trying to figure out what the next step is, how you can get out, how you can get to the next thing. I think that, let me know if you feel differently, but I feel like a lot of that is also can be attributed to just you as a person, your mindset, like the strength that you have as a person. Because my assumption is that some people did not share that mindset. Some people would laze around all day and just be like,
Yeah,
when do we get out?
yeah,
When do we,
yeah. It just
they just,
wait. It
yeah, they're
just
just
wait.
mope, they just mope. And
Right.
to be fair, I'm a moper. so, but I think that,
Maybe I should send you back to some refugee camp for a
oh
little bit.
goodness, oh goodness. But yeah, I think like some of that could be attributed to just kind of like who you are as a person. I feel like you're a hustler.
I'm not
Know?
gonna take the credit.
I think you
Uh,
should.
I would love to, but I think that my mom is the driver
Uh-huh.
and my dad's the driver at that
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So, I mean, I am just a very obedient daughter. I have to
Hmm.
say that whatever they want me to do, but there are times, I mean, asking to learn English was mine.
Hmm.
I went and I searched for a teacher. I went and I make friends, and I went and I say, please let me take some English lesson. Now they did not, because they education, they value that, but they didn't know where to find things so I initiated that. But the rest, I think, keeping us busy, making clothes, making a business, this all pretty much all my mom's. And
Yeah.
I was just saying that I'm the supporter. I am just, she tell me to sing, I sing. She tell me to dance, I dance. She tell me to sew, I sew. I would
Yeah.
do anything my mom told me to do.
Wow.
Um, and because we're a team, we never really think separately. It's always teamwork, family
Uh,
first, family first.
it's such a different message from today, where it's like you gotta figure out some level of independence. You gotta figure this out for yourself. And I feel like that.
That's the American way.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
good way, there's a bad. I mean, at that time it's really good. But I think even if Asian come here long enough, that we get influenced by the Western culture, the Western mindset. But
Mhm.
in Vietnam, you don't move out until you marry. Sometimes you don't even move out after you marry. You just
Right.
bring in your wife, or usually for a girl you don't stay, but usually for a son,
Mhm.
you just bring in, and that's why there's a lot of big problem with mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws in Vietnam,
Mhm. Yeah.
because they're always accumulate. They you a very nuclear mindset, and they work things out even though there's a lot of quarreling, but they will make things work, and it's very different. Yeah, different culture. But at that time for me, I think that yeah, I was okay with everything that my mom and my dad told me to do.
Mhm. But I think like still I think you should take some credit for that because I mean it yeah there's like a level of obligation, but I feel like that's something that was uh baked into you over a long period
Yeah,
of time to a point
it
where it's
baked
like
into me. Yep.
to a point where it's like, okay, well, now that I have this foundation of just like, okay, I got to figure out how to survive, how to make things work for myself, like that becomes your nature, that becomes your personality. And so because of that, like I always see it in what you do. It's just like, okay, when when you're running your business, how do we do this? From that to something like, oh, okay, we need to plan a vacation. How do we make the most of it so that we're really enjoying ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Believe
really
it or not, you are baking into too, because being raised by me, I'm sure that you are not just moping around all day. Maybe sometime, but I'm sure that you do plan, you do things that, because that's the nature
I've I've learned
of our upbringings.
I've learned at the very least when I don't want to do that. So we've had this conversation before, but like as far as vacations are concerned, the less
Uh-huh.
plan that there is for me around a vacation, the more I enjoy it. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
depend, depend. There's certain place that you don't. I mean, for me. I don't want to. I'm not a planner to down to the T on vacation. We went vacation before. I just want to. Your dad just like to just slum on the beach and stay there all day. For me,
yeah,
I just
I
want to
love that.
go. I just want to see what's in town,
Uh huh.
what is famous there, because I was there. I want to know.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
it's a good balance. I think it's always a good balance. I don't want to mope around all day, but I don't want to be bouncing around all days and not slow down and breathe.
Yeah.
And the same thing in the refugee. The thing is, I think going back to whatever credit that you're saying, um, I was just doing things that I think most of people would do.
Sure. Okay.
And yes, there's gonna be people who just you know lazy and just laying around waiting for things to happen. Those are the people who are gonna complain about, oh my God, I'm so bored. The waiting is long. For me, that 90 days, 98 day just zip by.
Yeah.
The first 100 day was just so fast, actually, because all I thinking about who's which clients I'm gonna come and get my stuff. So do I have that ready? So your
Hmm.
mind is always like, what's to do tomorrow, and you don't remember about the waiting. And that my dad
Interesting.
do. He's the one who's gonna go follow up, because I can't really do anything anyway. So I'm glad that I had something to do and also bring in some money for the family.
Hmm. But that's interesting, and I think that's a very cool takeaway for me. It's just really understanding where you come from, and it's just more about like sharing your personality with me and understanding where that comes from is very interesting. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that like the more I hear of it, the more I understand it, and the less confusing it is to me. The less the less I because I remember being quite frankly very irritated by some of these things as a kid. Around like the planning, around the let's go do this stuff, let's go do this thing. And now
Remember,
it's
I
just
used to make you write a page of journey every time we would go on vacation.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good report.
uh-huh. And I was just like, "Yeah, this is stupid. Why do I have to do this? It's like,
But you
why?
would appreciate that, right? I mean, because next year you'll forget, and then you read it, it's like, oh, I did that. How
Well,
much
yeah,
thing you
it's
remember?
it's
I
it's
don't.
very
You know.
much it's very much just like understanding where your thought process
Yeah.
and where your um
Yeah.
where your actions are coming from, and I
And
think that that's important. Yeah.
I was just talking to my mom, and it's still the same. And she's 80, almost 81, and she still
Mm,
didn't want to waste any time. She's at home and she bought yarns and she's knitting, and she made a whole bunch of stuff. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna go and give it to the people who have cancer that need the head
mm,
to warm their head. And that was something she was trained since young. She didn't want to waste time, sit around and do nothing.
mm,
Some people enjoy that. Some people you just can't make them enjoy by just sitting and do nothing
yeah.
unless they're sick. Like I would not be able to just do nothing unless I have a purpose of not. I mean, even when I'm watching movie, I felt like I need to knit something or I don't know, make a list. It's like I'm always multitasking, which is I'm not very proud of it because sometimes you're not focused, you're not doing thing completely 100%.
Mm,
But yeah, I was trained young. What can I
wow.
say?
Hey, and honestly, that's such like a a powerful mentality to have when you are trying to get out of the situation that you are currently in. And I think that that showed when your parents started to rely on you more and more as you went through the immigration process, as you went to America. It's something that like you became an integral part of, and I think that that's so it's just so powerful, and it's definitely
Yeah,
something that I want to get into later on.
and many time I get into trouble if I don't do my job well. You know, it's not like, oh, I appreciate you do this for us. No, that's expectation even more.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
I was gladly to do it.
yeah, and I think that that's a good note to end on. I think it's just understanding. Okay, well, you know, there's a really um, there's a really unique mentality that you adopted as you went through this process. Some of that was kind of through training. Some of that was through what you honestly what I
Become
think
of
is
it.
yeah, uh-huh. And I don't know, I think that's just really cool to see, and it's very rewarding to understand that part of my mother now. Any other thoughts you have there?
I don't know. So all these years, what were you thinking about me? Am I like uptight mom or
Yeah, no, this is very type A, just very type A. Like we need a plan for everything. We need to always be knowing what we need to do next. Like, that kind of stuff. And
yeah?
and for
Always
me,
have plan B, right?
right. And for me, I'm very much not that kind of person.
You are very much your dad.
Yeah.
If you didn't get trained by me, you will be completely laid back like your dad. I think you still have a little bit of me in there. You do plan stuff. I know that I mean your dad is and that's why we go well together because he's like cool my fire, right? It's because
I
he's
think yeah, I've at the very least I've learned how to do it for the things that are really important, for the things that like really need it.
yeah.
Like there's absolutely a need for that, and then for the rest of it, I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you get a little balance out
Hmm.
because yeah, all type A is not good because my dad is I think he was type A. So is my mom. I want to say,
Uh-huh.
and it's not good for your health.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got high blood pressure. You know, it's just lots of stress and um, sometimes it's good because urgency make things move forward. because you don't
Sure.
have a sense of urgency. You're going to sit on it.
Yeah.
And everything is an urgency is bad because then you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So you got to
But in
find,
this case, everything was urgent because your lives depended on it. Like your livelihood depended on it. So,
yeah, but you
and,
can't do anything because it's an urgency, but you can't control it because you don't have a date of departure or anything.
oh, I see.
So
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like the urgency is what can you learn? Like I was thinking, what can I learn why I'm still here? That's why I wanted to learn English. But before that, the urgency
Mhm.
is like, how are we going to sustain whatever we brought out? We still have how much money? So we have to make money to supply for whatever we need at the time. So we don't
Mhm.
dip into the saving that we might need it when we move to a different country.
Mhm.
So the mentality is to preserve what we brought with us. And even when we went to Philadelphia, we're still working hard. Don't touch that preservative. Just like, you're saving for 401k right now.
Yep.
Unless it's like super, 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 super urgent, you never want to deplete that. You always, maybe work 2, 3 jobs to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we were at that time. The urgency is not to touch the saving.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, life can teach you a lot of lessons,
Mhm.
especially adversity in the life that you come out when you have to face with so many crises.
Mhm.
You have to start thinking about what's the best way to survive.
Yeah. And I think
And
what I want to get into, in a later conversation is really I think we started to pick apart a little bit of that today,
mm,
but really getting more into what those life lessons were for you as you know, started really honestly running a business with your mom.
hmm
And through that and all the other things
yeah,
beforehand as well, it's just really trying to pick apart like what you brought with you as you continue your journey onwards. And then
hmm
I think again, just peeling the other layer back is just like what from that did you try to pass on to me and how.
hmm
And then I think that's another conversation entirely,
yeah,
but one
later
that I'm
on,
very much looking forward to.
later on. Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you very much, Mom. Thanks to everyone for listening in. Um, Mom, are there any final thoughts from you before we sign off?
No, I just want to remind people this is based on the book that I wrote. If you are brand new and just listen to this episode, this is, you know, I don't know, number 7 or 8. But anyway, the book is called I Did Not Miss the Boat, and there's a lot of detail in there. So if you are curious about, exactly what we were talking about, then just go ahead and order the book. And if you want the book to be autographed, then get it on my website, leetran.com. Other than that, you can get it on Amazon, e-Kindles, but I can't sign for those. So
You want to ship
that's
your
it.
iPad to her? She can probably sign your iPad, maybe. Who knows?
I don't think so.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Alexander. Have a
All
great
righty.
one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.